This is just AMZN for Friday, June 11th, 2021. So I think the best trade of the day worked out to be this rollover here, right at the line that we've had in here for a while. It's at 33.6680, and I mean it was drawn going back to November. So um, yeah, we rolled over right on this line. Turned out to have a really nice high wave candle on the day. Didn't quite fill the gap. This is still a very slightly open gap. The low of this candle is 33.7270, and we are still let's see. Yeah, there's like less than $1 of space between this high and this low, but then the high today didn't quite get back up there. So still very slight open gap, but there's some resistance there as well. So it's good to have a pause here. I mean, we've had 4 bullish days in a row through really, well, these two being really nicely bullish, Thursdays being Marbozu, going from a high wave and some directional move to another high wave. Fine with that. We'll see if we can go sideways a little bit more here before continuing on higher. Or this might be it. I mean, I expected a little more rest here. I was saying even a pullback, didn't even get that. I would not be surprised if we do end up getting up to like 3,400 early this coming week. So if this was the play to sell, to get into a put here as we sold off, it would have been basically buying blind here. But you had some really nice signals on the call. The 33.50 call had some very similar highs right up here around like this 20 price. And it's just getting in, like, unfortunately, it's waiting for the candle to get a little bit lower, a little bit lower. We ran into that price here. That wasn't the place to short, ran into it here. That kind of was the place to short. And then you had to get in right at the beginning of this candle. If you didn't, you missed it. So that would have been like buying a like 5, but again, it's buying blind. So it may have been the best setup to be shorting here, but knowing what price to get in the option wasn't as clear. So if you missed this, that's okay, because it had a quick 15 minutes of selling, retested, and this place here would have been giving you a better, maybe not a better entry. I think this would have been the best entry, but still gave you some good levels to look for. So this came down to a low of 625. But what's really interesting about this price is it kind of repeated here and again over here. So we got into very similar lows between 6 and 7, actually came all the way back down to 6 on this candle. And at that same time, we were kind of retesting back up to this level, didn't quite get there. So we were making lower highs. And then we were also making lower highs in the call. But what I really like about this one is this pivot here is that we retested back into like some of the lows here, the lower wick here and here and here. Didn't quite get back. Well, really saw this some resistance come in where we had, I guess, the bodies of these candles. I see there's a really good retest level getting back into some of these lows where there was prior support. Now you're seeing that as new resistance, and a little bit of the same thing here. Just don't have the same lows like we had here. We had 3 lower wicks that were definitely support. This one was just a single lower wick here. So it's not as clear at this level, even though that is kind of the same price to come back into, into the $6 range. But if you were getting in, and that's, I guess, the signal is this is retesting as new resistance here. It didn't have the same support like prior support, other than maybe where this candle kind of bounced. Yeah, it doesn't really work on the stock as well. Worked really well on the option, on the call. And at that price, you had some really nice small candles here, relatively small, smaller than we had for some of the earlier part of the day. But if you were getting into this, like even 650 by 650 by 550, or if you were looking to get in over here, getting in like 7 by 6, I think that would have worked as well, as a place to be buying off of a potential bounce at this level. But this low held. It was much lower, obviously, than this one, but not so much with the level of the put. So we were only a little bit off of this low, but anyway, it was just a really good pivot point on the option. And then from here, looking to get back into some of these highs around like 15. So if you got in, even if you got in at 7, 8R target would be 15. So that really was a nice setup to get back to the highs. So it's another reason I really like, getting in for kind of this portion of the trade here. Getting in, even if you got into this at 7, your stop at 6, I don't think you would have been stopped out. I guess it's possible if you bought like on this, it's not moving, there we go. On this candle at 7, you probably got stopped out at 6. But yeah, that's just one of the issues with options is sometimes they can have those moves when they're going against you. It can wick up. That happened to me last week, and I was out very quickly. So I like the ones where you can see a little bit of the bounce, get back into the same price, and then get the nice setup for the 8Rs on a Friday. So that was the move to trade. Even though we're talking about rolling over from here, rolling over the stock is great. Rolling over with the option, not so great, just because you don't have that same price. Because if you were buying a put at this level, we wicked up into this, you probably would have been getting in at like the close here. Let's even say 750. Well, it came down much lower. You definitely got stopped out. It came down all the way to 440. So you could not have done $100 risk there. And it's just one of the challenges with options and how they trade in the first like hour or so, that there's so much premium that's just going to get sucked out that if you wait a little while, you can have some better setups later in the day, some better rollovers, kind of the middle portion of the day, in this area, and even be in and out of a trade in like an hour and a half, something like that. And you don't have to be in it right out the gate. You don't have to be, getting into that significant move early on. You can wait for the options, kind of settle out. And so that's what I like to find. And it worked well on Friday. The rest of the day was really just some chop. Went sideways quite a bit. There were some directional moves here, but you got to look at some different options, like the 33.40 call worked okay. The 33.40 put, we got in the money here. We got in the money here. But it quickly reversed in both of those cases. I guess you have kind of a little bit of a inverted head and shoulders here, played out a little bit. You have kind of a double bottom here. So that played out going a little bit bullish. So we, that's part of how we turned into just a really high wave day, is that we were starting to sell off into the close, but then we just rallied for the last 25 minutes here. I thought this would sell off a little bit more and come back down a little bit. I thought that would be more of the rest we needed, but it just didn't happen. So even just seeing some strength on this into the end of the day, and not having, we were still making lower lows to this point, but then we actually made a slightly higher, we were making lower highs, then we made a slightly higher high at the end of the day. And so I did not expect that to happen. I thought we would continue to make some lower highs and actually not take this one out yet. So the fact that we did that, I think, is a little bit more bullish. And then the lows, we did make a slightly higher low here. So I was expecting us to get a little more sell-off. That would have made a new lower low as well. So that didn't happen. So yeah, we didn't get much of a rally on the 33.50 call because it didn't get back up into the money. And then we sold off on the 33.50 put because we did end up, having this kind of rally here, even though we still ended in the money on that put. Like I said, if you look at some of the different strikes, look at how the 33.40 moved, 33.45, 33.55, look at some of those other strikes to see how they moved during the day. You'll see some different things happening, even with, how flat this gets. There were other options that had a little bit more of a movement. So anyway, yeah, I hope this helps. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.